culture and intensity was the lead of that headline. I didn't even think about this. And this comparison TJ made in the article was actually really, really, really smart. He compared the 2019 Chiefs offseason additions, obviously the ones that led to a Super Bowl winning team, of Tyrann Mathieu, of Frank Clark. The defense saw big changes under Spags. I'm not going to, reveal the entire story. You guys go check it out on airheadreport.com. But the Chiefs now drafting George Karlaftis, getting guys like Brian Cook, getting guys like Trent McDuffie, like they're getting guys that have even Leo Chanel, mean streaks, culture setting,
Leo Chanel is
intensity
just a
setting
crazy
type guys.
person. He's
Yeah,
just mentally
he's wild.
insane.
Like he brings his own culture and intensity. Like I shouldn't have even lumped Karlaftis and Cook and McDuffie in with him. Like Leo Chanel is enough culture and intensity for an entire draft class. So I mean,
Oh,
you could have done the
100%.
article. You could have done the article just based on him. But in a nutshell, man, just kind of go through your process there and what you think this could usher in for the Chiefs.
I think the biggest thing, and I say it in the article, that the 2019 offseason was probably one of the most pivotal off seasons in the history of the franchise. I mean, if there's not a trade for Frank Clark, if there's not a signing for Tyrann Mathieu, if there's not additions of depth guys like Bashad Breeland, well, I mean, Breeland wasn't even a depth guy; he was a starting corner, and Damian Wilson was like a depth linebacker who provided good stuff. Blake Bell was a good secondary tight end who could block and receive. I mean, so many things were done in that offseason, and it immediately led to a Super Bowl. Now the offense was pretty much in place. The Chiefs just needed a defense to try and solidify the entire roster, but the guys that they added, it wasn't necessarily, oh, they added a star D end and they added a safety who can do a lot of stuff. They added dudes with a certain mentality and a certain essence about them that just oozed like competitive nature and juices, and just they've got that dog in them, no analytics, just dog. And that's kind of what this draft class reminded me of. I mean, I watched Trent McDuffie play, and it's not screaming Tyrann Mathieu, but there are Tyrann Mathieu style points to his game. I mean, he's a better boundary corner than Tyrann, but I mean, the tackling ability, the versatility, the burst, the range, it's all there. And then you go to Karlaftis, who plays just angry like Frank Clark did in the years in Seattle and even at Michigan, and then leading up in the first 2 years in Kansas City was just playing angry. And it's not necessarily like the talent, it's just the mentality. And listening to what those guys had to say in, rookie minicamp interviews and pre-draft and post-draft stuff, it just is very reminiscent to me of what Kansas City brought in to the team in 2019. And the defense this season played well at times, also played pretty poorly at times. And that's not really how it was in the 2018 season, where it was just poor the entire way through, pretty much one of the worst defenses in the league. But adding guys like Karlaftis and Cook and Chanel and McDuffie, I think is going to be something that really elevates this Chiefs defense, and it brings a different level of juice. I mean, obviously Tyrann isn't there anymore. He just signed with the Saints, and Frank is still there. So maybe this, kick some guys in the butt and, oh, now I've got to fight for my job. Now I've got to play harder. Not everything isn't guaranteed anymore. And so now you're bringing in like a different group of guys who are young, most of them, but who have just a different fire under them than I think this Chiefs defense had this last year. And bringing those guys in, I think, is only going to elevate the play of the other guys and possibly bring another, title to Kansas City.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's an imperfect comparison, obviously, because those
Yeah.
were proven veterans who were, a win now move. The Chiefs getting some of these guys, getting the Trent McDuffies of the world, getting the George Karlaftises of the world, those are technically win now moves too. Like McDuffie's
Yeah.
ready to roll, Karlaftis is ready to roll, but they're also a lot cheaper. They're also a lot younger. They're also going to be under club control for at least 4 years, if not 5. That's another thing. Like, people want to talk about the 5th-year option all they want. It actually does come into play here. Like, the Chiefs could
Yeah.
use that for either. Can you use them for both? I guess it is all first-round picks,
Yeah. It's all
technically.
first round picks. Get it.
So we know Brett Veach. I guess I can't make the cornerback joke and say he'd never do that in a billion years, because maybe he would now that he likes the cornerback spot. So I don't know. I think bringing those guys in, they all have, none of them are like bland, boring, run-of-the-mill picks. They all have an interesting cultural element to them, or intensity element to them. McDuffie, the cerebral, really, really heady cornerback who's going to do a little bit of everything and be versatile. Karlaftis, the angry, angry guy who still has room to grow and is just playing really tough football now. The same, intensity from snap one to the end of the game. Leo Chanel, I'm not even going to elaborate. He has death row written in Sharpie on him every game, or every home game, whatever the trend
God.
was. Then you have guys like Brian Cook, who he is culture and intensity on the field. Like they have guys, even Darian Kennard on the offensive line, like just defensively, they have a ton going on right now. And I think it's good. So